There's one piece of advice every trader hears 1,000 times. Just be more disciplined. Blow up your account? You weren't disciplined. Moved your stop? Discipline. Revenge traded? Discipline. It sounds like wisdom. It sounds responsible. It even sounds a little tough. There's just one problem. It isn't advice. It's a description of the problem dressed up as a solution, and the people repeating it loudest usually can't name one concrete thing to actually do. So today, we take that sentence apart, logically, piece by piece, and then build what actually works, the way professionals do. Let's be fair first, because a real argument steelmans the other side. Is there truth in be disciplined? Yes. You can't trade a strategy you won't follow. Some baseline self-control is the price of entry, and in the moment, most traders do know when they're going off the rails. So we won't pretend discipline doesn't matter. We'll do something more useful. Show why just have more of it is a broken answer, and what to put in its place. Fallacy 1. The knowing-doing gap. The classic line is, if you're tilting, you already know it. You're just choosing to do it. The first half is right. You usually do know. But knowing and stopping are two different systems in your brain, and one does not control the other. Every smoker knows cigarettes kill them. Information was never the missing piece. Philosophers named this 2,000 years ago. Akrasia, acting against your own better judgment. The entire reason trading psychology is hard is that gap between what you know and what you do under pressure. So just know better doesn't solve the problem. It restates it and walks away. Fallacy 2. Treating willpower as a fixed trait. The advice assumes there are disciplined people and undisciplined people, and you just need to be the first kind. That's not how self-control works. Willpower is state-dependent. It degrades under stress, under fatigue, under a string of losses. The mechanism is physical. When a trade moves hard against you, your body reads threat. Cortisol rises, the amygdala gets louder, and the prefrontal cortex, the part that makes calm, deliberate decisions, gets quieter. So the trader who calmly followed the plan at 9 a.m. is, neurologically, a different decision maker at 2 p.m., 3 losses deep. The cruel part, the moment you need discipline most is the moment you have least. Do you have discipline is the wrong question. The right one is, what's in place for when it runs out? Fallacy 3 is 2 errors stacked. First, the false binary. If you don't have the discipline, you shouldn't be trading. This splits everyone into fully disciplined traders who need nothing and undisciplined ones who should quit. But every real skill develops in the middle. Good enough to be live, still refining. By that logic, nobody should ever learn anything that takes practice. Second, and worse, it's circular. Watch how it's used. You won? You were disciplined. You lost? You lacked discipline. It explains every outcome after the fact, which means it predicts nothing before. That's not a strategy, it's a tautology in a strategy's clothes. A claim that can never be proven wrong isn't deep, it's empty. Fallacy 4. Ignoring the people who do this for a living. Simple test. Look at who trades the largest sums on earth. Banks, hedge funds, prop desks. The most professional, best capitalized, genuinely most disciplined traders alive. Do they hand a trader $1 million and say, just stay disciplined? No. They build independent risk desks, hard position limits, automated kill switches that flatten you with no appeal. A 4 eyes principle, where a second person signs off. Daily loss limits enforced by the system, not the trader. Ask yourself, if willpower were enough, why would the smartest money on earth spend millions engineering structure to take the decision out of the individual's hands? They wouldn't. They bet on systems precisely because they know willpower fails. Just be disciplined only survives as serious advice in retail. The pros figured this out decades ago. Fallacy 5. But you can override any system, so structure is pointless. You'll hear it constantly. I can just reconnect, I can uninstall it, so what's the use? Follow that logic and watch it collapse. Seatbelts unbuckle. You can speed past any limit. Casino self-exclusion is voluntary. You can walk back in. By this reasoning, every safety system ever built is useless, but they save millions of lives. Not by being impossible to defeat, but by adding friction at the exact moment your judgment is worst. Decades of behavioral science agree. To change behavior, don't rely on intention. Change the environment and make the good path the easy path. The goal was never a cage. It's a speed bump that buys the 3 seconds your rational brain needs to come back online. 2 more nobody mentions. Fallacy 6. You can't improve what you can't measure. Be more disciplined is unmeasurable. Nothing to track, nothing to practice, no feedback. Compare it to, after a loss, I re-enter 4 times faster than my baseline. Now it's a number, a problem you can work on. Vague virtue versus operational metric. And fallacy 7, the moral trap. Discipline gets framed as character. Good trader, good person. Bad trader, weak person. So when you slip, you don't just lose money, you feel shame. And shame is one of the worst inputs for decision-making. It makes you hide the behavior, skip the review, and tilt harder to win it back. The advice doesn't just fail to help, it actively makes the problem worse. So put the broken answer down. Here's the reframe that changes everything. Discipline is not a trait you summon in the moment. It's a system your calm self builds that runs automatically when your stressed self shows up. Your calm self is smart, honest, patient. Your tilted self is none of those. And willpower asks your tilted self to overrule itself, using the very faculty that's gone offline. That's why it fails. The fix isn't more willpower, it's moving the decision earlier to when you're still the calm one. Here's what that looks like in practice. 4 layers. And you can start the first 3 today with nothing but a notebook. 1. Pre-commitment. Your calm self writes the contract. Before the session, your max loss for the day, your max number of trades, your size per trade, the conditions you walk away under. Written down, not negotiated mid-trade. Highest leverage thing you can do, and it's free. 2. Measure the drift. Blow-ups rarely go from 0 to disaster in one trade. They start small. A faster re-entry, size creeping up, a stop that mysteriously moves, winners cut early, losers held too long. Track those behaviors against your own normal, not your P&L, your behavior. P&L tells you what already happened. Behavior tells you what's about to. 3. Friction at the failure point. Decide in advance what slows you down when you drift. A forced 2-minute pause after a red trade, a checklist you must type, a hard stop that locks the platform. Not a cage, a speed bump for the version of you that can't think straight. 4. Close the loop. After the session, calm again, review the behavior, not just the result. Where did you drift? What triggered it? That's how discipline actually gets trained, as data, like a strategy, not as a feeling you scold yourself for lacking. And notice the order. The real leverage is before the trade. Prevention. Almost every tool and every piece of advice lives after the damage. A hard stop fires at your limit. An auto flatten cuts you after the bad trades. A journal reviews it that night. Useful, but late. The 20-minute window where the decisions are actually made? Almost nothing watches that. That's the gap. That's the whole game. That gap is exactly why we built Meridian. It watches those behaviors in real time and flags the drift before your P&L ever does, so your calm self's rules hold when tilted you tries to override them. But hear me clearly. You do not need our tool to use any of this. A sticky note with 3 rules beats just try harder every day of the week. The tool just automates what the pros pay risk teams to do. So, the takeaway. Stop trying to be more disciplined. It's not a muscle you can flex hard enough. Build the system that makes the disciplined choice the easy one. And let your calm self protect you from the one who shows up after 3 losses. If this reframed how you think, tell me below. Team Willpower or Team System? And subscribe. This is trading psychology that respects how your brain actually works, not how gurus wish it did.